Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental, something that touches all of us, housing and living.
Absolutely. It's foundational.
Yeah, and our goal here, it isn't just, listing types of rooms or furniture. We want to give you a full picture. We'll start with the basics, sure, but then move right up to the bigger stuff.
Right.
Economics, psychology, how we express ourselves through our homes.
Exactly. Think of it as a shortcut. We want you, the listener, to feel totally comfortable talking about everything from, rent agreements to the whole feeling of home. It's the stage for our lives, after all.
It really is. So let's start right at the beginning. Level 1, the building blocks. We'll move through this pretty quick.
Sounds good.
Okay, types of homes. Primarily, you've got the house. That's usually your standalone building, maybe got a garden, that sort of thing.
Right, the classic image.
And then you've got homes inside bigger buildings. Americans tend to say apartment.
And in the UK, it's typically a flat. But essentially, same idea, a home within a larger structure.
Exactly. Different words, same concept. Now, inside these places, flat or house, there are sort of 4 main zones, functionally speaking.
You've got the kitchen, obviously, for cooking and food prep.
Yep, the bathroom for washing.
The bedroom, a private space for sleeping, resting, keeping your clothes.
And the living room, that's your main social hub, isn't it? Relaxing guests over, watching TV.
That's the one, the public face of the home, in a way.
Okay, quick rundown on essential furniture. Thinking about function. Living room, you need somewhere to sit. That's your sofa. Or maybe couch, depending on where you are.
Right, for a few people. Or an armchair if it's just for one. And often a coffee table in front, maybe a TV.
Then there's eating, usually a dining table and chairs. That's often where the family gathers.
Yeah, for meals together. And in the bedroom, for clothes, you've got taller cupboards, usually with doors. That's a wardrobe.
Or maybe a lower one with drawers, a chest of drawers for socks, t-shirts, smaller things.
And often a little bedside table right next to the bed.
Yeah.
For a lamp, your phone, a book.
Okay, so that's the physical map laid out. Pretty straightforward.
And that map, that physical space, it naturally leads us to think about where it is, the location.
Right, so describing location, it starts with the scale, doesn't it? Yeah. Are you in a huge city?
Or maybe a smaller town, or even smaller, a village, just a few houses, maybe a shop or two.
And if you're outside all of that, you're in the countryside. Farms, nature, open space.
Exactly. Different environments.
Now, this is where the language gets a little bit tricky. Prepositions, they catch people out.
They really do, especially in, on, and at.
So in is for the big areas, right? Countries, cities, neighborhoods. I live in France, I live in Manchester, I live in the suburbs.
That makes sense, like being inside a container.
Yeah.
But then we switch to on for specific things.
Yeah, like the street name. I live on Baker Street. And this is the slightly weird one, also for the floor in a building. I live on the 2nd floor.
That on the 2nd floor one definitely feels a bit counterintuitive at first, but it's standard. And at. We mostly see at for a full address when you're writing it down, like on a form. Less common just chatting.
Okay, got it. And then there are useful little phrases like near, meaning close to something. My flat is near the station.
Or next to, which means right beside it. The supermarket is next to the post office. Just gives a bit more detail.
Good point. Okay, location covered. What about who we're sharing this space with? Cohabitation.
Right. You might live alone or say on my own. Same meaning.
If you live with a romantic partner but aren't married, you'd usually just say you live with your partner, or with your parents, obviously.
And the common one, especially in cities or universities, is sharing with people who aren't family to split the costs. They're your roommates in the US.
Or flatmates in the UK.
Sharing the bills, sharing the space.
And that idea of sharing costs, of responsibility, that flows perfectly into the next big area. The practical side, the money side, renting. Okay, so we've done the physical stuff, the things you can touch and see. Now for the, let's say, the paperwork reality, the language of renting. This needs some specific vocabulary.
Definitely. So the main action is to rent a place. And the money you pay each month for it is the rent.
Simple enough. Who are the people involved?
Okay, the person who owns the property is the landlord. Or landlady if it's a woman.
And the person paying the rent and living there.
That's the tenant.
And sometimes there's someone in the middle.
Yeah, often there's a letting agent or an estate agent, a company or person who manages the property for the landlord, finds tenants, handles the paperwork.
Ah, the paperwork. That brings us to the lease, or sometimes called the rental agreement. This is important.
It's crucial. This isn't just a piece of paper. It's a legally binding contract. You really need to understand what's in it.
What kind of things? Obviously, the rent amount when it's due like the first of the month.
Right. And the rental period, how long the agreement lasts, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And very importantly, the rules. Can you have pets? Are there rules about noise? Smoking? It should all be in there.
And before you even move in, there's usually another payment, right? The deposit.
Yes, the security deposit, or just deposit. This is not rent. It's extra money the landlord holds on to.
Kind of like insurance for them.
Exactly. It's security against any damage you might cause to the property beyond normal wear and tear. If you leave the place clean and undamaged, you should get it back when you move out.
That sounds like a point where tenants need to be careful to make sure they do get it back.
Absolutely. Here's a practical tip. Always document the condition of the property when you move in. Take photos, make notes, agree on an inventory list with the landlord or agent. That's your evidence if there's a dispute later about damage. You need proof it was already like that, or that you left it in good condition.
That's really solid advice. So the lease protects the landlord with the deposit. Are there things tenants should look for to protect themselves in the lease?
Definitely. Beyond checking the deposit terms, you need absolute clarity on who's responsible for maintenance and repairs. If the boiler breaks or the sink leaks, who fixes it? And who pays? That needs to be spelled out.
Okay, good one. Anything else?
Look for a break clause. That's a term that might let you end the lease early under certain conditions, which offers flexibility if your circumstances change. And finally, something huge: utilities.
Ah, yes, utilities. The basic services you need to run a home. Let's list the main ones.
You've got electricity, obviously, water, and very often gas, usually for heating and sometimes cooking.
And the gas bill is the one that can really jump up in winter, right?
Right.
For heating.
Oh, yeah, significantly.
Yeah.
You pay for all these utilities with a regular bill, maybe monthly, maybe quarterly.
So the crucial thing with the lease is checking what exactly?
You must check if any utilities are included in the rent payment.
Yeah.
Sometimes water might be included, or maybe even heating in some apartment blocks. But often, the tenant is responsible for paying all the utility bills separately.
And that makes a big difference to your monthly budget.
A huge difference. If gas heating isn't included, you need to budget way more for those cold winter months. You have to factor that in when deciding if you can afford the place.
Okay, physical space, location, people, renting, money. We've built a solid foundation. Now, I think we're ready to go deeper.
Yeah, let's shift gears. Move beyond the practicalities.
We're moving into the feelings, the meaning, the story. Advanced analysis time. Home as a story.
And this starts with probably the most important distinction we can make in this whole conversation: the difference between a house and a home.
They sound similar, but they're not the same thing at all, are they?
Not at all.
Yeah.
A house is, well, it's the physical thing. Bricks and mortar, wood, glass. It's an object, a structure, an address on a map.
Just a building.
Right. But a home, that's different. A home is a feeling. It's about emotional connection, safety, belonging. It's where you feel you truly live and can be yourself.
That's why we have the saying, home is where the heart is. A beautiful, expensive house might still feel cold and empty if that emotional connection isn't there. It wouldn't be a home.
Precisely. Yeah. And that connection is so fundamental, so deep, that when we're away for a long time and miss it, we have a specific word for that feeling: homesick.
Yeah, that feeling really shows how much we need that sense of belonging, that safe base.
It's a psychological need. And sometimes we use an even stronger word to describe our home, especially when it feels particularly safe and peaceful. We call it a sanctuary.
Sanctuary. That feels powerful, like a refuge.
Exactly. A place where you can genuinely escape the stress and noise of the outside world. A place to recharge, feel safe, nurture your well-being. It's more than just shelter. It's psychological protection.
And when we try to describe the feeling of a home, the atmosphere, we use particular adjectives like cozy.
Cozy. Everyone loves cozy. It suggests warmth, comfort, safety. Often maybe a bit small, but in a good way. Just really relaxing and secure.
Or you might want the opposite, maybe bright and spacious, lots of natural light, feeling open and airy.
Definitely. Or you might describe it based on how easy it is to live there day to day, like convenient.
Convenient meaning shops nearby, good transport.
Yeah, everything you need is close at hand. It just makes life simpler. Or maybe you prefer somewhere lively, lots of activity, people around, maybe a bit noisy. The opposite of that quiet sanctuary feel.
So the words we choose really paint a picture of the experience of living there.
Absolutely. And that experience is shaped not just by the location or the feeling, but by how we consciously design the inside, our aesthetic choices.
Right. Our homes become a kind of self-expression, don't they? Through interior design, guided by our aesthetic, our sense of beauty and taste.
Totally. And different styles say different things about us. Take two really common ones. Minimalist.
Okay, minimalist. That's simple, clean lines, not much stuff.
Exactly. Simplicity is key. Often uses neutral colors like white, gray, black. Very little clutter. The philosophy is often less is more.
And there's often a psychological idea behind it, isn't there? Like a cluttered space leads to a cluttered mind.
Precisely. It's often about seeking mental clarity through physical order. It is a very intentional statement.
Okay, what's another contrasting style?
Well, you could have bohemian or boho. That's much more relaxed, artistic, maybe unconventional.
What does that look like?
Think natural materials, wood, rattan, lots of plants, colorful textiles, maybe patterns from different cultures. It often gives off a vibe of being well-traveled, creative, free-spirited.
Very different from minimalists.
Very. Or you could go eclectic, which is basically a mix.
A mix of what?
Different styles, different historical periods, maybe things inherited or found. It's highly personal. The trick is making the mix work together, making it feel harmonious rather than just random.
So through these choices, minimalist, boho, eclectic, whatever, we're kind of telling a story about ourselves.
Exactly. And the specific objects in our homes become part of that story. Those photos on the wall, the books on the shelf, that weird souvenir from a trip, the chair your grandmother gave you. These are personal artifacts.
Artifacts, like in a museum, but personal.
Kind of, yeah. They hold meaning, they represent memories, experiences, connections. They're the tangible bits of your life story displayed in your space. So when we arrange our home, when we curate it, we're actually curating our own personal narrative.
That's a really nice way to put it. But what happens when that curated space, that narrative, has to be shared? With flatmates or a partner?
Well, that brings us to a crucial advanced concept for harmonious living. Personal space and setting boundaries.
This sounds important for avoiding arguments.
It's essential. If you live with others, you have to navigate shared areas, noise, cleanliness, private time. You need to communicate. For example, establishing that a closed bedroom door, or maybe a closed office door if you work from home, means do not disturb unless it's urgent.
It's like a non-verbal signal, a boundary.
Exactly. And having open conversations about expectations, who cleans what when, quiet hours, having guests over. It's not being difficult or awkward. It's what I'd call communicative intelligence. It's preventative maintenance for the relationships in the home.
Because without those clear boundaries and respect for personal space,
the home stops feeling like a sanctuary pretty quickly. It can become a source of stress instead of comfort.
that makes total sense. Okay, this careful navigation inside the home, the boundaries, the shared responsibilities, it sets us up perfectly for the final section, looking outwards now.
Right, the bigger forces shaping how and where we live. Economics, social trends, the future of housing.
And probably the biggest ongoing debate in personal finance and lifestyle is renting versus buying.
The eternal question. Buying has this huge appeal, doesn't it? Stability, ownership, building equity. It's seen as an investment.
There's that phrase, getting on the property ladder. What does that actually mean?
It means buying your first property, usually something relatively small or affordable. That's the first rung of the ladder. Then over time, as its value hopefully increases or you save more, you sell it and buy something bigger or better, moving up the ladder. It's a path towards building wealth through property.
But it's not easy to get on that first rung, is it? There's a massive hurdle.
A huge one. The down payment. That's the large chunk of money you have to pay up front, usually a percentage of the property's price, maybe 10%, 20%, sometimes more. Saving that amount can take years.
Okay, so you save the down payment. Then what?
Then, unless you're very wealthy, you almost certainly need a mortgage, which is just a very large long-term loan from a bank to cover the rest of the purchase price.
And mortgages aren't simple either. There are different types, right? Interest rates.
Exactly. You need to understand things like interest rates. Are you getting a fixed rate mortgage where the interest rate stays the same for a set number of years, giving you payment certainty, or a variable rate mortgage where the rate can go up or down with market changes, which could be cheaper initially, but carries more risk. It's a major financial decision.
Wow, okay. So buying involves stability, but also huge upfront costs, debt, and risk, which makes renting look, well, different.
Renting offers flexibility. It's much easier to move if your job changes or you just want to change a scene. The contracts are usually shorter. And crucially, you're generally not responsible for major maintenance or repairs. That's usually the landlord's job.
Fewer responsibilities, more freedom to move. Sounds appealing, especially for younger people or those whose lives aren't settled yet.
It definitely has its advantages. But
Yeah.
look, we can't talk about renting or buying today without acknowledging the massive issues in the housing market globally.
You mean the housing crisis?
Yes,
Ugh.
in so many major cities, and even outside them now, there's a severe shortage of housing that people can actually afford. Prices to buy are astronomical, and rents are incredibly high too.
What's causing that? It feels like it's getting worse.
It's complex. Factors include things like not enough houses being built, strict planning or zoning laws that limit construction, and sometimes property being treated purely as a financial investment rather than a place to live, which can drive up prices. It makes it incredibly difficult for young people and those on lower incomes to find anywhere stable.
And this high cost of living, it has knock-on effects, doesn't it, on people's lives?
Huge effects. It can delay major life decisions, starting a family, changing careers. It forces people into longer commutes or overcrowded living situations, and it causes what we call a demographic shift. People, especially younger families, being forced to move away from job centers in big cities simply because they can't afford to live there.
Which can then put pressure on smaller towns and suburbs.
Exactly. And related to these shifts in cities, there's another really contentious issue: gentrification.
Okay, what exactly is gentrification?
It's when wealthier people start moving into historically poorer urban neighborhoods. This often leads to investment, new cafes, shops, renovated buildings, maybe better services.
That sounds good. Improvement.
Well, yes, it can bring improvements, but there's a major downside. As the area becomes more desirable, rents and property values go up. And that often leads to the displacement of the original, often lower income, residents and businesses who can no longer afford to be there.
So the character of the neighborhood changes completely, and the original community is pushed out.
That's the core conflict. It pits neighborhood improvement against social equity and the right of existing communities to stay in place. There are no easy answers there.
It sounds like these pressures, high costs, displacement, are forcing people to think differently about how they live. Are there new trends emerging from this?
Definitely. We're seeing some fascinating responses. Let's touch on three big ones. First, the tiny home movement.
Tiny homes, like really small houses.
Yes, sometimes under 400 square feet, often on wheels. It's more than just small living. It's often a conscious choice, a philosophical statement. People choose to downsize dramatically.
Why? What's the appeal?
It's often a rejection of consumerism and the pressure to own lots of stuff. It values simplicity, environmental sustainability, and crucially, financial freedom. A tiny home costs far less to build and maintain, potentially eliminating mortgage debt.
So it's an anti-materialist statement almost?
In many cases, yes, an anti-status symbol. Then there's co-living.
Co-living. Is that like updated flat sharing?
Sort of, but more organized and often on a larger scale. Think purpose-built developments with small private bedrooms or studios, but really large, high-quality shared spaces. Kitchens, lounges, workspaces, gyms, sometimes even cinemas.
Why is this becoming popular?
Two main drivers, really. One is cost. It can be a more affordable way to live in an expensive city. But the other is social. It's a direct response to what sociologists sometimes call social atomization, that feeling of isolation and loneliness that can happen even when you're surrounded by people in a big city. Co-living offers a built-in community.
Interesting. An antidote to loneliness and high rent. What's the third trend?
Remote work. Obviously hugely accelerated by the pandemic, but the shift was already happening.
How does that change housing?
Fundamentally, if you don't have to go into a central office every day, your home isn't just where you sleep anymore. It's also your workplace, maybe your gym, your everything.
So people need more space or different kinds of space. A home office becomes essential.
Exactly. And it untethers people from needing to live right near the main business districts. This is fueling that demographic shift we mentioned. People realizing they can move further out, maybe to suburbs or smaller towns where they can afford more space, including that home office, because the daily commute is gone or less frequent.
So the definition of a good location is changing.
It really is. And all these trends, tiny homes, co-living, remote work, they point to a world where housing choices are perhaps becoming more intentional, more varied, and maybe where community is built differently too.
How so?
Well, in a world where people might move more often, becoming more transient, maybe that traditional idea of community being tied purely to your immediate neighbors is weakening. Instead, community might be something you actively build based on shared interests or values. Your running club, your online gaming friends, your co-working space colleagues, rather than just inheriting it based on your postcode.
Wow, what a journey we've taken. We started with just, sofa and wardrobe.
Yeah, the real basics.
And we ended up talking about fixed-rate mortgages, gentrification, social atomization, curating personal narratives.
The philosophy of tiny homes, it really shows how multifaceted the idea of home is.
It truly does. The place you live, it sits right at the intersection of, everything. Economics, psychology, art, society, philosophy.
And having the language to talk about all those different facets, from the practical to the profound, it empowers you to understand your own situation and the world around you better. It helps you make informed decisions about this fundamental part of life.
Absolutely. Okay, so now that you, our listeners, have this richer vocabulary and framework for thinking about housing and living, here's something to ponder.
Ooh, homework.
A little bit.
Yep.
Think about your own home right now. What specific object or item in it, and it doesn't have to be valuable, could be anything, what serves as your most important personal artifact? And what story does that particular thing tell about you and your life?
That's a great question. Makes you really look around and think about what truly matters in your space.
Exactly. Something for you to mull over. Until next time, stay curious.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We've pulled together some really fascinating research today. It kind of forces us to rethink, the whole concept of where and how we live.
Yeah, it really does.
Today we're diving into a pretty ambitious analysis looking at global dwellings, tech innovations, and, that deep emotional connection we have to home.
Right. We're going from basic architecture all the way to these bigger philosophical debates about the future.
Exactly.
And the goal here isn't just definitions. We want to layer up your understanding. We'll start with specific cultural stuff and build up to that point where technology meets, human feeling.
So you walk away with a more synthesized view, right?
Yeah.
How climate, culture, connectivity, how it all defines where we anchor ourselves.
That's the idea.
Okay, so to kick things off, let's look at the essentials. Climate and culture. How they've basically engineered some amazing, really functional homes around the world. We're calling this Global Homes 101. Cultural footprints.
Makes sense. Because homes are fundamentally adaptive, aren't they? They really reflect centuries of learning how to deal with the elements.
Sun, snow, whatever it is.
Exactly. Fierce sun, deep snow. And these structures, they become cultural statements over time.
Okay, let's start in Japan. The Machiya townhouse. When we think traditional everyday living, what's the key thing about the Machiya, maybe beyond just how it looks?
I'd say fluidity. That's the defining feature. You've got the sliding paper doors, right? And the tatami mats. It means the space is always changing, always adapting.
So it's not static.
Not at all. It's like a flexible shell that shifts with the family's needs hour by hour sometimes. It kind of embodies this commitment to adaptive, low-impact living.
Right. So when someone says, I grew up in a cozy Machiya in Kyoto where the walls whispered history, it's more than just nostalgic.
Oh, yeah. It's describing a whole philosophy, really, about maximizing a modest space, living flexibly within it.
That flexibility, it feels quite different from the Mediterranean approach, doesn't it? If we hop over to Spain, the Casacan patio, the defining thing there isn't the walls, it's that space inside the patio.
Precisely. And the courtyard, the patio, it's a brilliant bit of engineering, both environmentally and socially.
How so?
Well, in hot climates, it naturally pulls air through the house, keeps it cooler. but maybe more importantly, psychologically. The patio is this essential buffer zone.
Ah, between the street and the home.
Exactly. Between that noisy public street life and the really private family world inside. It gives you a space for gathering, siestas, meals, but it keeps the inner life shielded. The heart of the home is open to the sky, not the street.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's swing way north. Scandinavia, Sweden, maybe. We find the stuga, the wooden cabin. And this embodies Hygge, that Danish concept, right? The magic of deep coziness. What does the stuga tell us about Scandinavian culture beyond just, liking cocoa and candles?
I think it reveals this profound focus on intentional stillness. The stuga is often small, sometimes quite isolated. It encourages you to eject that constant high-pressure productivity thing.
So Hygge is almost like a strategy.
Yeah, the sources suggest it's kind of a cultural strategy for mental well-being, a deliberate focus on simple sensory pleasures, especially important when you're facing those long, dark winters, right?
Right.
So when you say, our stuga in Sweden is all about Hygge, candles, cocoa, and zero rush, you're signaling you embrace that anti-productivity mindset. It's about being, not just doing.
That comparison is great. The adaptable Japanese space, the buffered Spanish courtyard, the intentional Scandinavian stillness. It's a perfect launchpad into the next bit. Cultural quirks and home hacks.
Yeah, because if architecture is the structure,
Then daily habits are the soul, right?
exactly. We need to look at why different cultures use similar spaces so differently. Like, take Italy. Why do Italians often mangiano in cucina, eat in the kitchen, instead of having that formal dining room separation you see elsewhere?
Yeah, it seems casual, but it says a lot about La Dolce Vita, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The sweet life, the kitchen, the cucina, it becomes the absolute center.
It really does. I mean, sure, it's practical. Cooking and eating just flow together. But symbolically, it kind of collapses the hierarchy.
I mean,
Well, a formal dining room suggests a certain performance, maybe, a structure. Eating in the cucina, it signifies everyone's sort of equal. The preparation is just as important as the eating. Life happens right there in full view.
like in that phrase, in my Italian nonna's home, the cucina is where secrets simmer alongside pasta sauce.
Beautifully put. Captures it perfectly.
Okay, that makes sense for maybe a big extended family vibe. But what about really dense urban places, like Mumbai? High-rise flats, often tiny balconies, yet they're huge for chai chats. How does that tiny space get so important?
It becomes a kind of necessary escape pod, honestly.
Yeah.
The Mumbai balcony, even if it's small, it might be the only place many people get fresh air, light, a glimpse of the outside world without being right down in the middle of the chaos.
So it's for reflection.
Yeah, sunset reflection, the ritual of masala chai, and just watching the world go by. It's like a vertical veranda, in a way.
Speaking of verandas, let's jump to the Australian outback, the bush home. Their verandas, those shaded wraparound porches, they serve a much more brutal purpose, right?
Yeah.
Survival, battling the big dry.
Exactly. That's sun management. Cooling, pure and simple. It's basically an extension of the roof, designed to control temperature, provide essential shade, long before air conditioning was common.
So that phrase, nothing beats a cold beer on the veranda during a scorcher, it's less about leisure.
And more about essential relief, finding respite. Absolutely.
Okay, we've talked physical structures, habits. What about internal hacks? I'm thinking feng shui in China, rearranging for energy flow. Is that purely cultural belief, or do the sources suggest maybe real benefits, universal ones?
That's a really crucial question. And the sources. They suggest feng shui works on two levels. Culturally, yes, it's about harmony with the cosmos, with energy, Eiki. But practically, it's actually a brilliant way to force intentional spatial awareness.
Making you think about your space.
Exactly. It encourages decluttering, making the most of natural light, ensuring pathways are clear, things flow easily. So while the energy flow might be, debatable for some, the psychological benefit of living in an organized, intentional space, that's very real. Measurable, even.
That intentionality feels key. We got a great example from Maria in Brazil. Her favela home's rooftop. She hosts these epic churrascos barbecues that turn neighbors into family.
Oh, that's a perfect illustration. Space being defined entirely by its social use. Her rooftop probably wasn't designed as a party zone,
Right.
but it was claimed for community. Our favela rooftop hosts epic churrascos, meat, music, and midnight stories. It just reminds us that the most valuable part of a home often isn't the square footage.
But the energy you build there.
The communal energy, yeah.
Yeah.
Which ties right back to the Italian cucina in a way.
That transition physical space to communal energy leads us perfectly into the future, I think. Let's shift gears. Advanced concepts. Tech transformations. Homes of tomorrow. This is where it gets really complex.
Yeah, it does. When we talk about a smart home, one that's gone full Jetsons,
Right.
we're really talking about the IoT, right? The Internet of Things becoming pervasive.
Everything's connected.
Everything. Thermostat, toaster, you name it. Networked. And your voice assistants, they become these digital butlers, basically, commanding instant comfort.
Siri, play my hike playlist. Instant zen. Sounds great. Liberating even. But the real deep dive here is the implications, isn't it? We have to hit that ethical twist head on.
Absolutely. We cannot skip the privacy pitfalls. Look, the convenience of a smart fridge texting your shopping list, it's undeniable. But we have to ask, how is that convenience paid for?
With our data.
Primarily. And the spying isn't just like a physical camera, it's behavioral modeling. Those microphones, those sensors, they are passively collecting data. Your routines, your consumption habits, even the ambient noise in your home.
And that data goes.
It gets aggregated, sold, it influences everything from the ads you see to maybe even your insurance rates down the line. The price of convenience is often the sanctity of your private life.
So it's not just if Big Brother is listening, but how sophisticated that listening, that data collection has become.
Wow. Okay, but there's a positive side too, right? Sustainability. Can the tech help there?
Oh, it definitely can be a massive win for sustainability. Sustainable smart homes use AI to manage power dynamically.
How does that work?
They optimize solar panel usage, maybe anticipate heating needs based on weather forecasts, adjust lighting automatically when you leave a room. It offers that really enticing promise of, zero bills, all thrills, making the house hyper efficient.
We heard from Ahmed in Dubai, his smart Majlis, his living room. It auto-adjusts the air conditioning for iftar feasts during Ramadan. That's a fantastic example.
It is. It shows technology adapting not just to climate, but to very specific cultural and spiritual needs. It proves tech isn't inherently alienating. It can adapt to the cultural anchors we give it.
But ultimately, this sets up the big debate, the one we really need to embrace. Are smart homes offering genuine liberation through efficiency and convenience? Or are they subtly enabling a kind of pervasive corporate Big Brother through all this surveillance and data aggregation?
Liberation or Big Brother? That's the core question. Okay, now we've tackled tech. Let's move to maybe the most resonant part. Emotional upgrades. Havens beyond walls. Defining home beyond just bricks and mortar.
Yeah, and this brings us to a really advanced concept, the portable home. The idea that your real home is rooted in your identity, your connections, something you carry inside you.
Which is vital for expats, right? Nomads, third culture kids, people whose physical location is always shifting.
Exactly. It's a necessary psychological adaptation.
I like that remix of the proverb. Home isn't where the Wi-Fi connects. It's where your chosen tribe connects souls. Lena, a listener, a nomad, she shared that her backpack is her haven, stuffed with talismans like her grandma's locket.
And those talismans, they anchor the memory, the feeling. This is where micro-memories become so important too.
What do you mean by micro-memories?
Like scuffed door frames where you marked your kids' heights, or the slight discoloration on the wall where a favorite painting hung for years. These tiny details, they turn a structure into a sacred space. It proves the value of that idiom. Build nests, not nest eggs.
That's a powerful idiom. Prioritizing emotional nurture, investing time. Connection over just financial gain. It links back to the Stuga's rejection of pure productivity, too.
It absolutely does. And to give us some advanced vocabulary for this emotional landscape, we should explore liminally lovely spaces.
Liminal spaces, like thresholds.
Exactly. Doorways, hallways, balconies sometimes, they're psychologically significant because they act as portals. They mark the transition from one state, one role to another.
Like stepping from the outside world, the work-weary you.
Into your interior sanctuary, your wonder-filled space.
Yes. By consciously acknowledging that doorway as a liminal space, you're sort of mentally shedding your external armor. You're stepping into your intimate zone. That reinforces the feeling of safety, of belonging. But the dilemma here, again, is tech, isn't it? We face digital homesickness, trying to connect through VR or Zoom calls. Do they actually bridge the gap, or do they just highlight what's missing?
I think they often highlight the absence of haptic feedback. A digital hug is just data. A haptic hug, real physical connection, the warmth from a real hearth fire, sharing the actual air in the cucina, those sensory inputs are fundamental for grounding us.
Simulation versus reality.
That tension is exactly where the future of home is being negotiated right now.
Okay, let's bring it all together in our finale. Blended Horizons, Tomorrow's Tribes. What future trends are emerging, merging all these concepts, architectural, tech, emotional?
Well, we're seeing architects designing what you might call hybrid havens, often things like co-living pods where physical space is maximized, but personal identity gets maintained through tech.
Like how?
Think AR walls, augmented reality projections. They let you customize your interior instantly. Maybe project a sunny Spanish patio onto your bedroom wall, even if you're in a tiny city apartment.
Wow. So using tech to simulate that cultural comfort we talked about earlier. And what about the social side? Curing modern isolation.
The sources point towards concepts like inclusive igloos. It's a metaphor, obviously, for communal living spaces designed specifically to force diverse interaction.
Architecture designed to cure echo chamber emptiness.
Precisely. These co-living setups are structured intentionally to bring together people from different backgrounds, ensuring you actually have diverse conversations, different perspectives, maybe over dinner every night. They're like intentional nomad nests for digital drifters seeking community.
That synthesis is really powerful. Raj from Singapore shared his HDB flat. It's a hybrid hub. He's got a robot chef for efficiency, but he balances it with a traditional rooftop Zen garden. For emotional grounding, it's blending cutting-edge tech with timeless serenity.
And that is the critical convergence. It sets up our final grand debate question for you, the listener. Will technology ultimately augment, meaning enhance and support, or will it alienate, meaning sever and replace our fundamental human anchors? Our need for community, for place.
In flux-filled futures, home is the flux we choose, fluid, fierce, forever ours. Wow. We've gone from adaptable meshias and communal cucinas all the way to smart sanctuaries and the vital need for, well, haptic haven.
You are definitely now equipped to navigate this really complex topic, understanding not just words, but the philosophies, the tech pitfalls, the psychological anchors that define dwelling. You can conceptually teleport others inside your more sophisticated understanding of home now.
As you think about that tension, high-tech efficiency versus deep human comfort, here's the final provocative thought we want to leave you with, building on everything we've discussed. Tech or tribe, what's your ultimate home hack for thriving in the future? Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take your source materials, your blueprints for being well-informed, really, and turn them into immediate knowledge. Today, we're definitely skipping past the usual stuff.
Right. No more vague Hidge hacks or those generalized smart sanctuaries.
Exactly. Our mission is, well, surgical, highly specific. You shared this deep stack of research on the future of home environments.
Yep. And we are slicing straight into the blueprint for 2025 living spaces.
We're not just talking about what looks nice. We're digging into what's coming. Our sources, and it's a really interesting mix, design blogs, architectural reviews, even user stories, they collectively label this next wave 2025 visions, vintage vibes, and vital voices.
And the goal here is to give you a really well-informed, actionable overview. We'll move from the basic aesthetics, the stuff you'll spot immediately, all the way to, the deeper ethical and sustainability things driving those choices.
Think of it as your immediate shortcut to understanding what's next in home design.
Precisely. So let's unpack the trends, the flair of the debates, everything that defines the modern home's glow-up.
Okay, let's start with the immediate, the visible changes in the 2025 Vision Vault.
Right. So first off, form. Homes in 2025, they're becoming shapeshifters. For years, it's been all sharp, stark minimalism, right? Straight lines, hard edges.
Yeah, very angular.
That's decisively retreating.
So what's actually replacing it then?
Well, it's about flow and curvature. I think the biggest thing, the most immediate shift you'll spot is the rise of arched accents.
Right, arches.
Yeah, and it isn't always a massive renovation. Often it's just a detail. Curved doorways, windows, and especially mirrors seem popular. They just disrupt those harsh right angles we see everywhere.
That's fascinating because the sources jump right to the emotional effect. They say arches add instant wow, acting like a portal to posh.
Yeah.
That sounds like more than just geometry.
Oh, it is. It's psychological. Sharp angles can feel, rigid, maybe even stressful sometimes. Soft lines. They tend to promote a feeling of safety, flow, and this carries right over into furniture. We're seeing a real move toward rounded furnishing, sofas, tables with these soft sculptural edges. It reinforces what one source called a hug me vibe.
That softer look is also super practical, isn't it? I saw a note that a big selling point is being kid-proof and chic. Fewer sharp corners if you have kids or pets running around.
Exactly. Style meets safety. It makes sense.
Okay, so that's shape. What about color? If the last decade was all gray and cool white.
2025 is warming up. definitely. The palette is very earthy. We're talking soft clays and warm sands.
That feels like a response to everything going on globally, maybe. People wanting their homes to feel grounding.
I think so. The sources put it nicely, saying these walls should whisper, "Welcome home," feeling like sunset without the sunburn. Warm, but not, overwhelming.
Yeah, gentle warmth.
And tying this basic level together is a really crucial material conscience. And this isn't just about huge solar panel installations, it's about accessibility.
Oh.
Through sustainable swaps that people can actually make, think recycled material rugs, linen textiles, bamboo blinds, easier things for the average person to implement.
Okay, so you can get that eco-fab and featherlight result without needing a massive budget.
Exactly. So the big picture here at the start, we're moving away from cold, stark minimalism. It's towards softness, warmth, and more mindful consumption right at the foundation.
Which actually makes sense. That desire for warmth kind of sets the stage for more texture and history.
Perfectly put. That leads us straight into the intermediate level, vintage vibes unpacked. We've gone from soft clays to, it feels like a pretty dramatic swing. What old school stuff is suddenly eternally cool again?
It seems like it's the return of very deliberate glamour.
It is. We're seeing a major Art Deco revival. And not just a little nod, it's embracing the geometric flair, the polished woods, the glam 20s gold accents.
Sources called it flapper fabulous without the fringe, which I loved. But okay, Art Deco often sounds expensive. High luxury, is this just for the super wealthy?
That's a really good question. Design trends often start high-end, sure, but what seems key here is people prioritizing character. For a lot of folks, that means hunting down authentic vintage pieces, actual Art Deco antiques, or focusing on specific elements.
Like what?
Like choosing a patinaed mantelpiece over one of those super slim, modern, linear fireplaces that were everywhere.
Right. So it's about the story.
Yeah.
That vintage wood mantle being aged like fine wine. Choosing history over something brand new and maybe a bit sterile.
Precisely. And that hunt for character, it flows right into the next big thing. Pattern drenching. This is bold.
What?
Really bold. Forget just one accent wall.
Okay, define pattern drenching. Maximalist magic.
That's what they're calling it. Think walls, floors, even fabrics, all covered in one bold, often quite complex pattern or motif.
Wow. That's a commitment. It's like the total opposite of the blank canvas idea.
Complete rejection of hesitation. Yeah, it favors narrative, texture. There was a great example in the sources, Sofia from Portugal. Her kitchen uses azulejo tiles, this classic vintage Portuguese blue tiles everywhere.
Oh yeah, I saw that. They called it Azul Awesome.
Exactly. It tells a story about place, about history, right there in the kitchen.
So are there hacks for this? For people who maybe want that impact but aren't ready to tile every single surface?
Oh yeah, designers are getting clever. Ceiling wallpaper is becoming really popular.
The ceiling?
Yeah. For hidden height, they say, it draws your eye up, adds texture in a totally unexpected spot, and gives you that maximalist punch without maybe overwhelming the room at eye level.
Okay, but why now? All this texture and drama. It seems almost opposite to the soft, earthy tones we just talked about.
Well, I think the connection is in that search for comfort and identity. People seem tired of homes looking like generic showrooms. Art Deco, pattern drenching. They provide visual density.
Visual density, I like that.
They help create homes that feel collected, loved, unique. It's pushing back against decades of that sleek, sterile simplicity. These details, they stick with you. They create character. Kind of a visual anchor in a world that feels like it's changing so fast.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's shift gears again. Now we move to the advanced level where trends meet society, ethics. This is where we get into the vital voices of 2025 design.
Right. And we can start outside, actually. There's a huge movement around gardening, but it's not just about pretty flowers. We're seeing cottagecore gardens evolve.
Evolve how?
Backyards are becoming these functional biomes. People are planting edible flowers, medicinal herbs, using fairy lights, creating real food forest feels.
But hang on, the sources brought up a really critical debate here. Is this trend a wholesome wave or whitewash whimsy? Is it genuine sustainability and food sovereignty, or just another aesthetic for people with the time and space?
That question of authenticity is absolutely vital. And to ground it, the sources highlighted Jamal from Kenya, his shamba, that's Swahili for a family farm or kitchen garden.
Right, like a home garden.
Exactly. He grows sukuma wiki greens there.
Which, for anyone listening, is a kind of collard green, a real staple food in East Africa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Jamal calls his shamba sustainable storytelling on soil, which really highlights the difference, doesn't it, between an aesthetic choice and maybe a cultural necessity. It reminds you that real global sustainability is often rooted in tradition and need, not just, weekend hobbies.
That's a powerful point. Okay, let's move back indoors for design with purpose. Lighting apparently is getting sculptural.
Very much so. Lamps treated like modern art, casting interesting shadows. The sources called them energy-efficient enigmas that can spark soul-searching. So it's less about just brightening a room, more about creating atmosphere, mood.
And that moodiness continues with sofas. I saw mentions of bold sofas in really deep hues, forest greens, blues, rich terracotta.
Yeah, terracotta temptresses was the phrase catching on in the market, apparently.
Okay, but here's where the ethics edge comes in again, right? Design needs to think about accessibility, comfort, not just how it looks.
Absolutely crucial. The big question designers are asking is, are these pieces inclusive for all body types? The sources specifically mention needing wider seats for wider worlds.
Wider seats for wider worlds. Got it.
We're moving, hopefully, towards more universal design thinking, where comfort and space accommodate everyone, making sure that cool-looking sofa actually works for people of different sizes, ages, abilities. The ethics have to be part of the style.
That makes sense. And we're also seeing a comeback for dramatic drapery, floor-pooling fabrics, velvet, framing views like theater curtains, creating these little nooks for midnight musings. It sounds quite intimate.
It is intimate, but that drapery is also really functional. Think about acoustics velvet and heavy fabrics help dampen sound, especially in open-plan homes.
Oh, good point.
And they're great insulators, which supports those sustainable swaps by helping keep rooms warmer or cooler.
Okay, so looking ahead now to blended blueprints and hybrid horizons, we're seeing some interesting mixes, the communal elements coming back alongside modern efficiency. Tell us about this English-style kitchen thing.
Yeah, this focuses back on the kitchen as the heart of the home. It includes using things like Aga ranges.
Those huge cast iron cookers.
Exactly. They're not just stoves. They radiate this constant, gentle background heat. It turns the kitchen into this reliably cozy, communal gathering spot, which, enforces that whole hug me vibe we talked about earlier.
And in the bathroom, a move towards shower rooms without tubs.
Yeah, it seems to be about spa-like efficiency. But again, the ethical point is critical. If you take out the tub, that walk-in shower absolutely must be designed thoughtfully. Meaning wheelchair welcome, as the sources put it, accessible and safe for all ages and abilities. It's a chance to really bake in universal design standards.
And then there's the truly future-facing stuff. AR arches, overlaying digital art deco onto physical spaces. Virtual vintage for nomad nests.
Yeah, the idea that physical structures can be augmented with digital design choices, it's still speculative, but it's out there.
It feels like ultimately a lot of these 2025 trends are really rooted in resilience, human resilience.
I think that's absolutely right. We saw that so clearly in the story from Aria in Australia. Her home was rebuilt after the bushfires.
Right, and she talked about her veranda vigil made from vintage wood.
Yes, and she said that structure illustrates resilience. Her words were phoenix fabulous. It shows how style in 2025 is really built on strength, not just looks.
That really pulls it all together, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
This deep dive took us from the arched basics and the vintage intermediates through the cottagecore critiques and those drapery debates.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully this synthesis gives you a really comprehensive, nuanced shortcut to understanding the whole pulse of 2025 design.
Yeah, we've covered quite a bit. From sustainable swaps to the ethics of sofa design, we hope this helps you navigate whatever design decisions might be coming your way.
But before we wrap up, we want to leave you with one final thought, something drawn straight from the source material for you to kind of mull over.
Yeah, it connects a lot of these threads, the pattern drenching, the Art Deco comeback, that shift towards moody, complex interiors.
So the big debate question for you is this. Is the rise of 2025's moody hues and textured glamour, the terracottas, the dark velvets, is it ultimately empowering or enticing joy? Does that search for character bring comfort, or does it just add complication?
Something to think about.
Definitely. We encourage you to consider your home's hue, the one you choose bold, blended, and maybe unbreakable. Welcome to the deep dive. So you asked us for a quick weigh in, not just what's new for 2025 home design, but to really get the underlying language shift. We've looked through your sources and the mission today is pretty clear. Decode those foundational changes, the stuff that lasts, not just the fads.
Exactly. Think of it like learning a language. We're not just memorizing trendy slang. We're digging into the grammar, the core vocabulary that's going to shape spaces for, well, maybe the next decade. It's about finding what the sources call these eternal echoes.
Right, the elements that make a space feel real, grounded, maybe even a bit vulnerable.
Precisely. Moving beyond just aesthetics.
Okay, so if we're starting with that core vocabulary, the absolute first thing we need to nail down is the color. There's one specific hue dominating everything for 2025, the color of the year.
Ah, yes. Cinnamon slate.
Cinnamon slate. It sounds warm and cool at the same time.
It is. It's complex, which is why it's interesting. The sources describe it as like a heathered plum brown, almost velvety, but that slate part is key. It stops it from being too sweet, you know? It grounds the plum and the cinnamon, gives it this sort of wisdom, a sophistication, not just brown, not just gray.
So for you listening, the big takeaway isn't just the shade itself, but how designers are talking about it. It's like an emotional shorthand. I saw one quote, "Swathed my bedroom in cinnamon slate. It's like dusk draped in dreams."
Yeah, it signals a mood. It's enveloping. After years of really bright, almost stark neutrals, people seem to want these saturated, cozy havens.
Does it work everywhere, though? Like north-facing rooms? Does it get muddy?
That's the thing. It doesn't really go muddy. It goes moody, which is the point. It makes you actually notice the light instead of just relying on white walls to bounce it around. It's a color that invites you to, well, settle in. It's a commitment.
And cinnamon slate is kind of the star player in a whole team of new colors, right?
Yeah.
We're moving past basic beige and gray.
Oh, completely. The whole earthy palette is getting richer, more textured. Think warm sands, sure, but also these really flamboyant terracottas. Deep, velvety colors.
Terracotta in the kitchen keeps popping up in the sources, like harvest warmth without the harvest hassle.
Exactly. It gives you that natural, earthy feel, but it's more versatile than, say, the full-on rustic farmhouse thing, which is definitely on its way out. Terracotta feels grounded, but still quite chic.
Okay, so we've got these deep, comforting colors. Now, how are we applying them? Because it's not just about painting one wall anymore, is it? There's this concept of immersion and texture.
Right. And the key technique there is material drenching.
Material drenching. Explain that.
It's probably the biggest shift, structurally speaking. It means you minimize the visual breaks. You basically douse a whole space in one texture or material. Think continuity, not contrast.
So like wood on the walls continues right onto the floor, maybe the cabinets too.
Yeah, exactly. It creates this incredibly immersive, seamless experience.
Sounds amazing, but doesn't it get boring if everything's the same? Where does your eye go?
But that's the point. The interest shifts from color contrast to textural details. The grain of the wood, the finish, how light hits the continuous surface. One source mentioned using oak everywhere to create a forest fort, trend-proof and timeless.
A forest fort. I like that. It sounds protective.
It taps into that need for sanctuary, for feeling, held by your environment. It feels solid, enduring.
Okay, I get it. So if we're drenching rooms in dark wood or that cinnamon slate, we need some light, some sparkle to balance it.
Which brings us to metallics.
Cool tones are out.
Definitely out. Silver, chrome. They feel a bit cold for this new mood. The trend is firmly warm metallics.
Gold.
Well, yes, but specifically things like gold-veined brass, something that looks like it could have a history, like buried treasure. It has that potential for patina. Brass just works beautifully with those deep tones, soaking up the color and giving back the soft gleam.
It's like jewelry for the room. And the sources actually give a specific pairing, a brass lamp in cinnamon slate.
Right. That combination nails it. Metallic magic meets moody mystery. It stops the deep colors feeling too heavy or dark.
And Brad's feels classic, too. It fits that forever home language idea. It won't look dated next year.
Exactly. It implies longevity.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. What's on the way out and what's making a comeback? We need to talk furniture. Those super curvy sofas.
The overcurved ones. Yeah, they're fading fast. They were fun, kind of cute, but maybe lacked a bit of gravitas for this new direction.
So what's replacing them?
Things that are more sculptural, maybe, or have more defined lines, that straight-edge swagger the sources mention. It's part of a bigger move back to more tailored architectural furniture, things with a bit more visual weight, permanence. Curves can sometimes feel a bit flighty.
Makes sense. So some things are getting more structured, but other styles are coming back. The retro revival.
Yes, but it's very specific. It's not just random vintage finds. It's about integrating particular pieces with these new deep tones.
Like what specifically?
Think 70s lamps, the ones with the heavy bases, or maybe 90s rugs, the textured or geometric ones. But you put them in a room with cinnamon slate walls or that deep wine red we'll talk about.
And the dark colors make the retro pieces feel intentional, not just old.
Precisely. Curated, not cluttered. They add a layer of history and narrative.
What else is finally done? Please tell me it's the accent wall.
Ah, yes. The bold accent wall. One source literally called it, so 2024, overdone.
Good. It always felt a bit non-committal.
Right. It was a quick fix. But now, with material drenching and this focus on an enveloping feel, you just don't need that one shouty wall. The preference is for subtlety, like a cinnamon fade. Maybe the color just wraps around, or the material itself is the star.
This move towards subtlety seems linked to craftsmanship, too. The sources really call out some mass-produced finishes, like ribbed panels.
Oh yeah, ribbed panels are dismissed as outdated relics. Ouch.
So what's the alternative if you want texture?
It's about texture through real materials and craft. Instead of fake texture panels, you might see actual washi wood cladding.
Washi wood. Like the paper.
Kind of. It refers to materials that have that quiet, textured, almost translucent feel of Japanese paper. Subtle woods, maybe special panels. It leads to what one source called wabi-sabi.
Okay, wabi-sabi. That word gets used a lot. In this context, for 2025 design, what are we really talking about?
It's fundamentally about appreciating imperfection, transience, the beauty in natural materials, and aging. It's the opposite of like slick, mass-produced perfection. So wabi-sabi wow isn't about being flashy. It's that quiet feeling you get from something beautifully made, something that shows its history or the maker's hand.
Which explains the focus on furnishings focused on craft.
Exactly. Choosing handmade hooks or a beautifully joined shelf or unique ceramics over something generic from a big box store. Investing in the piece itself.
That focus on craft and feeling leads us into the more advanced stuff, pairing these deep colors to create really emotional spaces.
Yeah.
This is where it gets quite romantic, apparently.
It really does. We're seeing pairings like wine red walls with the cinnamon slate. It's described as runway romance.
Wow, wine red. That's a statement.
It is. It's a very deliberate, saturated choice. And the sources emphasize you have to commit. No half measures. They specifically warn against trying to lighten it up with too much white. No all white washout. You embrace the mood.
Why wine red, though? Why that level of intensity now? What's the emotional driver?
It seems tied to this idea of home as a true sanctuary, a place for deeper connection, maybe introspection. That wine red nook done right with the right textures and lighting is framed as a velvet vow to vulnerability.
Trends that touch the soul.
Yeah. It's about designing for intimacy, for a grown-up, grounded feeling. It's quite a departure from the very bright, maybe more superficial social media-ready spaces we saw a lot of previously.
So connecting our interiors to our inner lives, but also to the outside world, there's this nature-infused havens idea, biophilic bliss.
Right, biophilic design connecting us to nature. But for 2025, it's more integrated than just a few houseplants. We're seeing edible enclaves.
Edible enclaves, like little kitchen gardens.
Sort of, yeah. Small, built-in herb gardens, maybe under some nice task lighting, often using those warm brass fittings we talked about. It's making nature functional, part of the daily rhythm of the home, not just decoration. Blending the botanicals and the brass.
And all these pieces, the drenching, the deep color, the craft, the nature, they all build towards creating enveloping atmospheres.
That's the ultimate goal, yes. Designing rooms that physically and emotionally wrap you up. The sources use phrases like whispery warmth, craft-cornered, and curve caress.
Curved caress.
Oh.
So curves aren't totally out.
Not totally, but maybe softer curves, integrated curves in architecture, furniture details, rather than the big, bubbly sofa shapes. It's about feeling enclosed, protected, like the space is a custom fit. A move away from those big, echoey, open-plan spaces. People want nooks. They want to feel tucked in.
Okay, this all sounds incredible, but it also sounds expensive. Which brings us to the ethics question. We have to touch on this. If the focus is on bespoke, handcrafted natural materials,
Yeah.
What about accessibility, sustainable craft?
Yes, this is a really crucial underlying tension, and the sources present it quite neutrally, which is important. The core question is, are these beautiful handmade havens inclusive icons? Do they inspire everyone towards more sustainable, thoughtful choices? Or are they just elite echoes?
Meaning, Trends only the wealthy can afford, which widens the gap between high-end sustainable design and what's available to everyone else.
Exactly. Because prioritizing unique, high-quality, often slow-crafted pieces, that whole forever home language inherently clashes with the fast, affordable model of mass production.
So the design world is wrestling with this.
Very much so. How do you promote slow, ethical, beautifully crafted design, that earthy equity, and make sure its benefits reach everyone, not just those with big budgets? There's no easy answer presented, but the conversation itself, the awareness of the moral footprint of design choices, is central to the 2025 philosophy.
That adds such important context.
Yeah.
Okay, so to sum it up for you listening, the key takeaways are definitely cinnamon slate as more than a color. It's a mood. Then there's material drenching becoming mainstream. We're seeing those overcurved sofas tamed in favor of more structure, big focus on craftsmanship over quick fixes, and creating truly evocative spaces with deep emotional colors like that wine red.
And remember the why behind it all. It's this desire for grounding, for sanctuary, for permanence in uncertain times. The ultimate unlock here is understanding that your home is this incredibly personal space you shape. In a world of fleeting trends, your home can be the echo. You leave something lasting, meaningful, and totally yours.
You get the language now. So you can start thinking about how this applies to your own space, whether it's picking out a brass detail or just considering how a corner could feel a bit more like a velvet vow to vulnerability. Homes aren't endings, they're endless encores.